What is on your head?
What is on my head?
What is on your head?
Well, we were in spirit for the spirit last week, so I'm in spirit for the spirit this week.
It's a funny looking hat.
Hey, it fits.
I'm glad your hat fits.
Yes. Welcome back, friends. Glad you were able to join us for another drink. So, yeah, my train engineer hat.
They don't really wear that.
Hush your mouth. Don't ruin it.
You brought your toy train with you too.
And my train from when I was a little tot.
It's midnight special. That makes me want to sing Journey.
We haven't even started drinking yet.
So what do we have then? You got the train conductor hat. You got the midnight special.
Hey,
Train going anywhere.
Boys and their toys, especially trains. It's there. So this week, if you haven't figured that already, it's along with trains. We are going to enjoy and talk about Eight Sand, and this is a blended bourbon whiskey.
Ah.
This I absolutely have enjoyed before.
Yes, we've had a couple of bottles.
Yes, we have.
Before.
We have. And we definitely want to make sure that we share the things that we enjoy with everybody, not just first pops to where we experience it live, but those that we've enjoyed together, but maybe you haven't actually seen, so it kind of goes on your list to check out as well. But Eight Sand, really, they come out of Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And since last week we were in Colorado, we're trying to pull it back a little bit closer to home this time. And Eight Sand, as you see, has a locomotive there, and the Eight Sand is actually a railroad term. On locomotives, the full throttle setting is 8. And then they've been known to put sand on the rails, the railway, for traction. So Eight Sand goes along with that, and it kind of ties into what they consider as smooth sailing. So you should be doing that when sipping on this. You should be smooth sailing. Backstory on this is really focused on the Transcontinental Railway and the westward expansion. This was branded to honor the courageous spirit of those that were venturing out that way. Now, in addition to Indiana, MGP Distilling, they're also located in Atchison, Kansas, and that is the home of the Eight Sand locomotive 811, which is really cool. They've got a locomotive out there.
That sounds pretty neat.
Yeah. And this isn't just a branding thing, let's go along with the cool little story and stick a label on there and we'll just call it a day. They actually take it a little bit further than that, and portions of the profits for each of these that are sold go to supporting railway museums and train restoration projects across the country. We've stopped at a number of cars along our travels.
They're just really neat to see.
Yeah, it's nostalgia there, checking out how things were back in those days.
Yes.
So I've always enjoyed it, and when they actually give back to keeping the history alive, it's definitely important.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts of Eight Sand? I know it's a little bit different than what we typically do because it's blended.
It is a little bit different. So most of the bourbons that we enjoy are going to be straight bourbons. Mm-hmm. So a straight bourbon, of course, is 51% corn mash, and a blended bourbon whiskey is basically just meaning that at least 51% of this whiskey has to be bourbon. So you take it down a little level. It's not a full bourbon. Now, there's pros and cons to blended bourbons, blended bourbons in particular. The pro is that you're going to have a very smooth and consistent flavor from bottle to bottle, batch to batch. The con is that a lot of blended spirits are going to have a lot of grain neutral spirits, aka vodka. When you have those grain neutral spirits, a lot of times they have to add in food coloring to kind of make it more whiskey colored. But MGP doesn't do any of that. They actually don't have any grain neutral spirit in Eight Sand. And on top of it, they don't have any colors added to it. The color on the bottle is the color you get just from their blend of 51% bourbon, at least. And then they'll pad that with rye whiskey, corn whiskey, and light whiskey.
Right. Which light whiskey isn't really known to some people just that drink this commonly. What does light whiskey mean?
Light whiskey is going to be on the spectrum of it's distilled hotter than regular whiskeys, but colder than a grain neutral spirit. So it retains that whiskey flavor. It's just a little bit light.
So higher than 160 and less than 190. And blended bourbon, it's got its fan base. The bourbon fans typically put their nose up to blended bourbon whiskey.
They do.
Yeah, because of that GNS that's in it.
But that's where really you have to do a little bit more digging. Just because you see blended on a bottle doesn't mean that it's not good.
Yeah, this one
or
is
cheap for that matter.
Definitely not. Yeah, and this one, by those that are really questioning blended bourbon, they have some of this, and they're actually quite surprised on how good it is.
It does have some amazing flavor notes, and they get these flavor notes consistently, again, because they're doing it with a blend. So you're going to have notes of spiced rye and cinnamon and just that ending on a touch of caramel.
You ready to go ahead and have her pour?
Oh, that sounds delightful.
I'm always eager for this.
Just going to keep the hat on, huh?
I'm just going to keep it on. You just roll with it.
Oh, that's bad.
It was pretty bad.
That's about as flat as a penny left on the tracks.
Well done. Well done. I like that. All right, let's go before I run out of steam. Cheers.
Cheers. Certainly smell that cinnamon, that little bit of spice.
Yeah, I was going to say, you definitely pick up the notes of the spices on there. It is sweet smelling, so it's not heavy on the spices, but
yes,
it is very sweet smelling.
That's probably going to be the corn whiskey coming out.
Yeah. It's sweet from the caramel tastes. It's got very nice warmth to it.
And it's smooth. And it doesn't hack into my senses like other spirits that we've had.
True. And it's 88 proof, so that definitely helps with that.
That'll make it sneak up on you like the middle of the night, like your little midnight special over there.
Yes, it will. Absolutely.
Easy drinking, fairly high proof.
Fairly high proof, and price point was how much for this?
It's about 40.
Okay, so right in line with others that we've had so far.
Not on the upper end, but more middle upper.
Yeah, moderately priced is
Yes.
what I would call it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on this? Have you had Eight Sand before, or you want to add this to your list? If you've had it before, what would you say that it compares to? Any others that you've tried? Are you a fan of trains? Are you an operator of trains?
Maybe you work for the trains.
Yeah, or you work for the train company. That's right. That's exactly right. Or just love the history of them like we do. You ready to call it a night?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us once again. Have a great night.
Good night.